God knows, I'd rather show you cat videos than talk about Gary Lineker. You know, cat videos like this one. Look at that little cutie. Whose dressing gown is that? Just adorable. Oh, it's time for breakfast. OK, that's probably enough, Greg. Unfortunately, I have no choice because Britain's officially nicest man, someone who gives Mother Teresa and the Dalai Lama a run for their money, is back in the news. In an interview with The Guardian, there's a surprise, the Match of the Day star spoke about being attacked for his political opinions. And whilst I absolutely abhor and condemn anything vicious or threatening that may have been said to old Gaz, and I've had my fair share as well, if you're going to put yourself out there with strong and at times divisive opinions, you must accept a little bit of pushback. But Saint Gary doesn't like that. In the last 24 hours, he has used his huge public platform to threaten someone with libel for daring to say that he received money from Qatar for his World Cup coverage. Qatar, of course, being a hateful regime which treats women like second-class citizens, backs the terror group Hamas and jails gay people. Now, top comedy writer Kern, the man behind hit movies like the hilarious Borat, found himself in hot water with Lineker after criticising his double standards. Lineker shot back, tweeting the following. Lineker said, "I have temporarily unblocked you to let you know that your tweet is libelous. I didn't take a penny, a pound, a rial or anything else from Qatar for the World Cup. I work for the BBC and the BBC alone. I suggest you delete your inflammatory lies immediately." Well, this is a little confusing, isn't it? First of all, fronting the World Cup in Qatar for the BBC still isn't a great look, is it? For a man who wears his woke credentials on his sleeve. If he hates sexism, if he hates racism, if he hates homophobia, would he want to be in any way associated with this tyrannical regime and its twisted medieval values whilst broadcasting on the BBC? And did this famous eco-warrior, who is so concerned about global warming and is Greta Thunberg's #1 fan, did he not think twice about jumping on a plane to fly to the Middle East to present shows in air-conditioned stadia in the desert? Stadia, I hasten to add, built in part by modern-day slaves, thousands of whom fell to their death in their construction or perished in the crippling 40-degree heat. So the point about Lineker's double standards remain, but it gets worse. Because Lineker's rebuttal to this comedy writer, who is Jewish and is very upset by Lineker's reaction to the October the 7th attacks on Israel, is a tad misleading as well. Because whilst Kern was wrong to say that Lineker was paid by Qatar for covering the World Cup, it was the BBC who paid him, and more fool them, Lineker conveniently omits the fact that he has previously taken money from the Qatar regime. How much? Oh, just a reported £1.6 million over 4 years, broadcasting Champions League football for Al Jazeera, a television network owned by, you guessed it, the Qatari state. As well as criticising Lineker's position on Israel, the BBC star has had to delete a recent retweet which called for Israel to be banned from major sporting events. Kern makes some other quite compelling points about Saint Gary. Take a listen. Kern wrote, "Gary Lineker inhabits a world of zero risk, zero threat, zero danger. He's a multi-millionaire member of Britain's media class. In the game of identity politics, he is as immune from struggle as it's possible to be." The writer goes on, "Lineker lives where words are just a game to impress his smug, chattering class media friends. For Lineker, it's simply a game of words, a peacocking vanity, a warm bath of righteousness that he slips into with zero consequences, always in his knight's armour, but never going into battle." Blimey, I couldn't have put it better myself. You can see why he's a top writer. The truth is, I've always thought that you judge a person by their actions, not their words. And Lineker's Mr. Nice Guy image doesn't stand up to scrutiny in my book. This is a guy who sells junk food to kids. Now, crisps are delicious, but they're not good for you, especially youngsters. He presumably would like the government to spend more money on public services, given that he's identifiably on the political left. And yet, he successfully battled HMRC in court to reduce his tax bill by over £4 million by clarifying that he was a contractor to the Beeb, not an employee. Just think how many school teachers or nurses that 4 million odd quid would pay for, or how much refugee accommodation that would provide. Whatever his worldview is, rest assured that Gary won't be impacted as he mocks his employers and continues to tweet from the luxury of his London mansion. He might have the money thanks to a hefty licence fee income, courtesy of you and me, £1.3 million. But the rest of Britain can't afford Gary's luxury opinions. Violent or vicious attacks on this former football ace are appalling and deeply wrong. But be clear, Gary Lineker is no victim. Now, back to those cat videos.